You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Best Books of the Week show. And I had a bit of a snafu this week. Usually it's the day that the show comes out, but doing okay with that. But the problem is when I went to record, and I'm trying to record this late night Saturday night after doing our DC Comics podcast and things like that, I realized I don't have that many books to put on the Best of the Week show. So I ended up getting a hold of my man Gray in Japan. What up, Gray?
Hey, Jim, I'm flying in from Tokyo with some books to recommend. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm glad, because I ended up where at points, even this last couple of weeks, I've been trying to do the show with a bunch of people. Zach was going to be on, and he's had some snafus, and then the timing wasn't right. So when I ended up going to do the show, I'm like, all right, I'll get this done. And so with me, I was going to do it seat of my pants. And I was going to, okay, what do I like? I'm like, oh, crap, I don't like more than one book, really. That's trouble. It's Best of the Week, one book. That doesn't work. So I figured I would ask you, hey, do you like a lot of books this week? And you're like, yeah, I think I do. So we're here. I don't even know all of the books that you are going to pick. That's the craziest thing about it. But it was a tough week overall. I think you'd agree with that, right?
It was a really tough week, especially for the big two. That's what I noticed. And it's got me to at least explore some indie titles, which I've heard people talking about. And yeah, Jim, hopefully I'll surprise you with a few indie recommendations.
Yeah. And just as a other bit of a shout out, I had some people last week where I was talking different books. And hey, and I always like, and I'll tell everybody right now, tell us what your books of the week are as well, because I always like to hear recommendations, what people might be liking, even if it's not a number one. Maybe it's something I can catch up on. And somebody did say, because I mentioned the idea, and I did give a shout out to you. I said, I'd love to get into Spawn. I know a lot of people like the different Spawn stuff, but a lot of it is so in it, so many issues at this point that I'm like, oh, and somebody did give the shout out that, yeah, they're going to kind of reset a little coming up. So I got a hold of you and asked if you'd like to maybe review some Spawn stuff down the line. And we will probably try to do that.
Definitely. Looking forward to that.
That is one of the things, like I said, somebody recommended you should check it out when it hits. And I guess, is it $3.50? I want to say that, but I don't want to mess it up. It seemed like
you got it. You're right, Jim. $3.50, which I think it comes out at the end of this month. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think it does. So I was like, okay, and we're going to end up doing something with that. But in the meantime, like you said, the big two, they struggle. And that's where I just started doing this best of. And a lot of people do this sort of thing. And where I don't want to get caught in that rut of, well, if I don't like books I don't want to make up that I like them. I don't want to sit there and say, well,
Absolutely.
I didn't quite like this, but it was, I guess, okay, just to get a book. What I'm telling everybody is we don't have a DC book really on the list this week. There's no DC. I'm going to give a little shout out because there was a year one story that my man Eric Shea liked on our DC Comics podcast. Thing is, it isn't Batman. I know that people think it's the Joker year one Batman.
Ooh.
Eric actually on the podcast, his book of the week was Poison Ivy number 19. I didn't like it, so I can't really put it on the list personally, but he wanted me to tell everybody that he enjoyed it. And if you want to see kind of a twisty, turny deal of a year one for Poison Ivy, you might want to check that out. But we're going to get to the proper deal now, and we will start with Marvel, because a pretty good book came out from Marvel, right? I mean, me and you both really did enjoy Ultimate Black Panther, correct?
Yes, this is the only book that we've got the same recommendation this week. And what a relaunch, I thought, Jim. I don't know the character that well. I have kind of dipped in and out of the Black Panther title before, but yeah, Brian Hill. It's Brian Hill, isn't it? That's what got me to read this. Simple as that.
And me and you have been reading his Blade. We were reviewing Blade, and it was up and down. So when this happened, I was going to read it anyway. I really did enjoy Ultimate Spider-Man. So I'm like, all right, I'm looking forward to this. I was actually shocked how much I did like it. I really, really liked it. I did a review, and I said on the review that when I jumped onto doing Marvel and doing podcasts in 2018, I was looking forward to a lot of different books. I hadn't really read a lot of Marvel. I caught up on some things, but I was looking forward to really enjoy some of these characters that I thought were cool. Black Panther may not have been the first big one that I thought of, but I still wanted to like a Black Panther book, and I got the Ta-Nehisi Coates stuff that was just, I thought, garbage. And then even from then, you end up getting John Ridley stuff that barely, made a ripple. And now the E-viewing, I haven't enjoyed it. And so when I jumped into this, like you said, I think a lot of people, while it is Ultimate Black Panther, and they might think, oh, well, that's not really it's really a good jumping on point, because I think that Brian Hill gets the character, even if it is a little twist in this Ultimate Universe. And I thought that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, I saw a little bit of what do you call minor criticism for it being a little bit like the was it Captain America Civil War film? The story's like that, isn't it? But no, I think it's a really, really good introduction to the character. A great start.
You want to hear the craziest thing that I was told about it? This
Always.
Is a criticism. Now, remember, it's called Ultimate Black Panther, right? And if you did read the old Ultimate stuff, it was more of the movie type deal. Some guy said, I didn't like Ultimate Black Panther because all it felt like was all the classic stories rolled up into one. And I'm like, but classics, like, that's kind of what it is. Like, that's what you're getting. It's like, it feels like it's a classic version in this new universe. And I thought it was really good. And I thought that Brian Hill nailed the character of T'Challa. And on top of that, you do keep playing that game of how the maker changed the world and what happened from there. I said on a review, it's like an alt history, but you have to think things through. Okay, if there wasn't heroes here, how would that affect, say, a Storm? Because Storm is in this book with Killmonger, but there is no X-Men in the way that she would have joined up with. There is no Charles Xavier School for gifted, youngsters, things. So how does that play? And she's still in Africa. She's still with Killmonger. Killmonger's still there. I like that. I like the play. And where people didn't seem to understand with the maker, he can change some things. He can step on a radioactive spider to keep you from being Spider-Man, but he can't really change the kingdom of Wakanda that's there and, sealed off. So this is more of the Wakandans coming out and unsealing and seeing what's going on. I thought it was really, really good.
That's one of the things I loved about it. The fact that it's kind of, it's still hidden, isn't it? It's sealed away. So, and they're talking about, do they reveal themselves? That was a really good play.
And I think it's a cool play, especially because of a new book. You're kind of like starting at square one.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
them opening. And I said, and I still got, politics in comics, it's kind of a sketchy thing for me. I know comics have always had politics. I don't like the grab from the headlines. I don't like the politics that are of the day right now. That I like comic booky politics like a Wakanda that has sealed itself away. Now it's opening up. There's going to be some people that we see in here that are going to think, oh, they don't care about us. They won't let us in, out, whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. And seeing the solicits going forward, seems like there's going to be some crazy things. And just as a last bit, when I had some people also like, I'm not going to read that because I heard Moon Knight's the villain, and I don't like Moon Knight as a villain. It's not that Moon Knight. It's not that kind of deal. You have a little twist. Yeah, you have a twist with that. And in my mind, what it does set up is maybe you actually finally get the regular Moon Knight who doesn't really appreciate what's going on or something like that. But remember, this is a new universe made by the maker. But I liked it. I couldn't recommend it enough. I think that most people, if you are interested at all with Black Panther, it's an easy jumping in point because everybody's jumping in at the same time here.
Yeah.
And then you go forward. And I thought it was really felt classic, but with these new twists. So I
got to shout out the art as well, Jim. Stefano Caselli's art I thought was really good all the way through. It's a beautiful book.
I even said, like, when you know that a book's really good is when people's complaints at times are like so kind of like minimal. Like one person said, I would have given it a 10, but I don't like the suit being like nanotech. And I'm like, that's the only thing you can come up. Like, then you know it's a good book. Because,
that's a sign of a good book, yeah.
Yeah, again, and I really think that people should check it out, especially if you did like the Ultimate Spider-Man. Not going to get into Ultimate X-Men in this video because I got yelled at enough about that in another one, but that's the next one coming up.
I'm looking forward to that, Jim. I'm going to give it a shot.
I'm looking forward to it. And I said that I've loved these two Ultimate books, so I'm going for it. I'm going for it all, whether or not I love it or whatnot, And also, it'll be all about this, but I did see some people too, like, I get that you're worried that maybe Hickman will leave or this, but you can't keep playing that game. You're never going to enjoy anything then. So, go for it. If it's enjoyable now, go for it. And that's what I'm going to go for. But we're going to go to you because, again, this would have been the end of the show. Like, I'd be like, all right, everybody, see you later. That's all I really like.
That was a quick one, Jim.
Yeah,
wow.
that was. With that, though, you do have a bunch of indie recommendations, and which I love because one of the things that I think, I'll tell you, I always say that people yell at me. People haven't yet, but I think that they might be like, oh, come on, Jim, you have to like more indie stuff. It's just that starting this up, there's a bunch of series and things that might have already been going that I wasn't reading. So eventually we'll all catch up, even though you do have a number one, I think, on this list that I didn't read yet. But give us your indie books, and I'll see if I'll get some good recommendations.
Awesome. Okay, first of all, I'll start with the number one, and it's one of your favorite writers, I believe, Jim. It's The One Hand, issue 1, written by Ram V. Yes, that Ram V. Surprisingly, it's a really good opening issue. It's basically a kind of Blade Runner-esque style future noir murder story with a serial killer in there. And there's a detective who's about to retire. It's a classic story. But that case that he thought he solved, it's come back to haunt him. So really interesting art. It's dark, it's a bit grim, a bit creepy. The only thing that threw me, Jim, is it's set in something like the year 2869 or something. I was like, what? And it doesn't look that futuristic. It's like a Blade Runner kind of world.
And you say that. I actually paged through it because that's one of the ones you did tell me that you like. So I didn't have enough time to read it, but I paged through it, and I didn't even get that it was that much in the future.
No, it doesn't look like it, does it? It could be an alternate universe, maybe.
And I'll explain to people the idea of this. I'm not a huge Ram V fan. And it's the stuff that he wrote at DC mainly, but even the Venom deal and the Carnage stuff that he read at Marvel, I'm just not that big a fan. But I do go with your suggestions, and I did like his Layla Starr book a lot. So I can't say I haven't liked Everett. I really like that. So I think that it might be the idea that I would like more of his indie stuff. And I'll admit, I didn't even know that this came out. That's how busy I was this week. But I am going to check it out. So maybe.
Same with me, Jim. I don't think it's had very much press, unless it's people who are big fans of the writer. I heard nothing about it. It kind of came out of nowhere, and it was thanks to you that I found this.
Yeah, because I ended up getting that's how idiotic I am. I ended up giving you the review copy so that you can look through and review some stuff, and I didn't even realize it was on there because it didn't stick out. But
no,
I will check it out, and it might end up being, issue number 2 might even make the list for me. Because again, I don't. With writers that I don't like, sometimes I do like, hey, I'm not going to read that. But if somebody does tell me it's good, I will check it out, especially you, Greg. I do trust your taste, right? You don't have really great taste on co-hosts like me, but you have good taste with comics that I go with.
I thought I was too positive for the comic book world and YouTube.
Well,
Jim,
you might be. We'll probably get yelled at because, oh my God, a positive person out of nowhere.
God.
But
he likes everything, that Gray. What's he on about?
How dare you?
What is your next pick?
Okay, here's this is a shout out to a YouTube buddy as well, who I think you know well. Fear Monarch has been recommending Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. It's written by Patrick Horvath, and it's got art by him as well. It's only issue 3, so it's not too late to jump on board. And you might be put off, Jim, because it's anthropomorphic characters. It's animal characters set in a regular world.
Are you saying you don't think I'm a furry or something like that? Which I'm not, but you can make that assumption. I like anthropomorphic stuff, actually.
It's like
I don't mind it.
Big fan of that.
Yeah,
so
and I don't know if you've ever read Black Sad.
No.
It's awesome. It's one of my favorites, and that is all anthropomorphic in a great way. That's another shout out for something, though. But Yosabi Yojimbo is awesome as well. So I'm in for that.
Cool. I don't know what else to say about this. It's just basically it's like a normal town, but there's a murderer. There's always a murderer, isn't there, in there, and no one knows who it is yet. And it's just slowly building up to this reveal. But the way that the writer Patrick Horvath, he's using the animal characters to just represent like normal everyday life. It's really well done. So don't be put off by the cute factor, because it's not cute inside. It can be quite serious.
Yeah, I'm not really
dark.
familiar with the writer either, so maybe
I'm not.
I'll check that out. Any other recommendations?
Just got one more. The last one is, and it's a Conan the Barbarian derivative, but I think it's almost better, if you can believe that. It's called Bloodrik, and it's issue 3 of 3, so it's the miniseries finale. Written by Andrew Cronk. I think that's how you pronounce it, and it's art by Andrew Cronk. It feels a bit like a passion project. It's a really we just talked about the Ninja Turtles. It's like that kind of style, a little bit raw, the art. But if you think the Conan series from Titan is a little bit bloody and, sexy, wait till you see Bloodrik issue 3. It's a cracker.
I didn't realize that it was just a 3-issue deal.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I read the first issue and really liked it. I think it was, before I did the show. And I really liked it and just never read the second one. It's weird because when I saw it on the list, I was like, crap, did I read the second issue? And then I'm like, no, I didn't. It's even more like stylized crazy than, say, a Conan, which I like Conan as well, which you wanted to give a shout out to the last issue of Conan while we were talking as well, right?
That's right. It's issue 7, and I think there was a problem with the release. I didn't get a copy. I couldn't buy a copy until this week. So for me, it came out on Wednesday. But what a great issue, Jim! It really it's mixing up the dark, the kind of supernatural, as well as the sword and sorcery fantasy. It's a really solid issue.
Another book I will give a shout out to. It's not a full out best of the week, but I think that if you're interested, and a lot of people seem to be because the pre-orders seem to be through the roof, they say. But it was Thundercats #1. It's just, it almost made my list. And I know that it's a weird book, right? Because some people love it. Other people just hate it. Like, I seem to be like, me and you are the only ones in between.
Weird.
Right? But I'm in the kind of the middle, mainly because I'm not a huge Thundercats fan. I had a review on the site and, or on the channel, but it's just, it gave me enough to learn a bit about the Thundercats, but even I could tell it didn't feel inspired. It felt like, that Declan Shalvey who wrote it was going through the motions and the art
kind of by the numbers,
great.
wasn't it? Yeah, because I remember the cartoon back in the day, Jim. I used to watch it as a kid.
Yeah, I never watched Thundercats, because, I had a life.
What are you trying to say there?
Back in the day when I was more, because me and you are very similar in age, but at the point when Thundercats was coming out, I was really into sports and wasn't watching much. That's why I have that like weird spot, because I do love, all this stuff, but yet I'd never really watched Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, like a lot of the stuff, Turtles stuff. It's now me getting to it, at an elder age. Like I'll learn about this stuff, days before I die. That's when I catch up. But yeah,
Jim
back in the day.
Jim was a sports jock who used to bully me for liking comics when I was young.
Like it was more I didn't have time because I love playing like Dungeons and Dragons and video games and stuff like that. So I still was kind of a nerd.
Oh, cool.
But stuff like Saturday, I'll tell you right now, anything that came out Saturday morning, I was always doing either hockey or something like that Saturday, so I never would be able to watch.
Right. I thought it was okay, the issues, get back to it, Jim. I thought, it wasn't as bad as people were saying, but it wasn't like spectacular, and the art was a little bit...
It was basic. It was basic art. After the Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff being so good, you kind of hope that Thundercats would be the next thing. I know it's not connected, but it'd be the next thing to get involved with in that vein. Oh my God, like everything's coming up, nostalgia here, and oh my God. And then you read it, and it felt so basic. If you don't know a ton about Thundercats and just want to get involved, I think it's an easy way to get involved. It's just not very much.
It's still getting a lot of love out there, Jim, isn't it? On the review sites, I've noticed. I don't mean the the supposed critic reviews. The fans seem to be really liking it on these sites.
Sus Gabe did review it, so Gabe liked it. Gabe gave it an 8.5, and he says it's respectful. Enough of that, because like we said, it's not on our list, even though we went into it. But yeah, overall though, some cool stuff. There's always something to read. Like the Ultimate Black Panther was good enough for me for the week anyway, but I needed to have some more things, and I like talking with you about anything, so there we go.
Was there one more you wanted to shout out briefly, Jim? There was a Wolverine, Madripoor Nights.
Yeah, you're right. Wolverine, Madripoor Nights #1. It's cool. I liked it, and it comes out of, and it's Chris Claremont, Edgar Salazar on art. The problem is, it comes out of Uncanny X-Men 268 back in the day, and it is a team-up with Wolverine, Black Widow, and Cap, which is cool. The thing is, though, the original, that was Jim Lee art. It was really good. I went and read the original before reading this.
Oh, wow. That must be amazing, yeah?
And it was so good. So then I'm like, oh, poor Edgar Salazar. He did a good job. It's not Jim Lee.
I like it. It's a very 80s style, isn't it?
I think that people should check it out. You can jump in without reading the Uncanny X-Men 268, but it makes it better if you go back, and it's in the app. If you have it, that's where I read it. And again, if you have people, it's almost like the idea of like, I don't read the modern stuff from Marvel. This kind of is back issues, but new. That's how I look at it. It's pretty cool. So Yeah, I'm glad that you brought it up.
I enjoyed it without reading the Uncanny X-Men's 268. So, as you said, Jim, you can go into it kind of blind. And yeah, I had a really good time with it. It was just a lot of fun. And there is some great art, by the way. It's not Jim Lee, but it's still very good.
I liked it. So, yeah, that'll be the last deal. We had a last-second addendum to it to put that. But thanks for joining me. And I hope that everybody finds something to like, and especially with Gray, suggesting a couple things that I wouldn't have been familiar with or even read. But I will even go and I'll put all of my baggage aside and I will read Ram V and I'll check it out because if you say it's good. And I saw a lot of other people. You were talking to people in our Slack chat about it and it seems like a bunch of people do like it. So I'll give it a shot and then I'll yell at you if I don't like it.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds good.
I want that 20 minutes back. It takes me a while to read things, but that's that. But thanks for joining me so much. Thanks everybody for listening.
Been a blast. Thanks, Jim.
Let us know what your favorite issues are, or if you just want to comment on the ones that we didn't like, whatever, just let us know. And yeah, we'll keep going. And I'm going to have a bunch of people join me, especially Gray. So we'll see how we can do this. This is a opposite of what me and Gray usually do, because usually we record things and it's early in the morning for me and real late at night for him. And we've flipped it and reversed it. So it's kind of cool. It's Sunday morning for you. It's Saturday night for me. But that's that. You're a time traveler. But thanks for joining me once again, Gray. And thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hey, everybody. A quick ending here. It was real late when me and Gray recorded that. It was like 3 a.m., I think, when we ended. And I was a little tired, and I forgot to tell everybody to check out everything that Gray does on YouTube at Wakazashi's Tea House. Also, he has a new podcast, and you can look up Wakazashi's Tea House. It's mainly on Spotify, I think, right now. I've been telling him to get that thing on the Apple Podcast. He's working that out as well. But check out the show description, and in there, there'll be links to all of Gray's things. Plus, as a other thing, I'd like to know what kind of shows people would like. Maybe some live shows, maybe some things on the weekend. I don't know. It's one of those things that, I see the shows that everybody else are doing, but I want to see what people actually like to watch, listen to, and all of that. So if you have any suggestions at all, please let me know. And while we go forward, this best of the week, I'm going to have a bunch of guests joining me. Maybe even more than one at a time. Who knows? But one of the guys, Zach, who does a lot of stuff with the Marvel podcast, he was going to join me this week. We had a snafu, so he'll be joining me soon as well. But again, let me know what you all would like to see and hear, and that'd be really cool. But thanks, everybody. Check out Gray's links, and I'll talk to you all later.